Welcome to Brave Together podcast, an empowering resource for the parents of children with disabilities, neurodivergence, and all unique needs.
To treat yourself like a plant. And so that means every day they need to go outside, get some fresh air, some sunlight on their face. They need to have nutrients in the form of healthy food, and they need to have plenty of water. And if you think of yourself in those terms and you do the things every day that you would do for any other plant you cared for, you will survive much better in a difficult situation.
Hi, Bravies. I'm your host for this episode, Jessica Pate, caregiver to my son, Ryan, with Prader-Willi syndrome, and I'm the founder of the nonprofit organization, We Are Brave Together. Today's episode, number 235, will be an interview with Molly Trexler, a pediatric nurse practitioner and coach for medical moms. We discuss the unique challenges faced by mothers navigating the medical system, coping strategies for managing fear and anxiety, and the importance of community and support. With over 30 years' experience, Molly shares personal stories and insights, emphasizing the need for self-care and the power of listening. Our conversation highlights the transformative journey of medical moms and the resources available to help them thrive. Molly's lifelong passion and commitment to helping moms navigate these complexities with less stress shines through. Just a quick reminder, friends, to please rate and review the podcast, share episodes with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our episodes posted weekly on our YouTube channel. Now, please enjoy my conversation with Molly Trexler. Hi, Molly. Welcome to Brave Together podcast. This has been a long time coming. I'm so glad to have you.
Jessica, this has been a long time coming. I totally agree, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be talking to you today.
Good. Well, why don't we just start off by you telling us your personal story? And I want you also to define what is a medical mom. I know what I think I know what it means, but for, anyone who's listening or anyone who wants to share this episode with friends or family, I'd love for you to start with both of those pieces.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner. I am a version of a medical mom myself, and I have nearly 30 years of experience working in a hospital. I've been in the same hospital my entire career, and I've literally walked journeys with thousands of families. So medical moms are my people. I love them. They're a special breed, and when you get the invitation to be part of this club that you never knew existed, it really takes you in lots of different directions. How would I describe a medical mom? It's really any mom who has encountered the medical system beyond routine care. So that can, in the case of myself, it took the form of neurosurgery. And in the case of my coaching, I tend to focus on mothers of babies with congenital heart disease because it's quite an epic journey that is lifelong. So really, being a medical mom touches so many people. And it is such an important segment of the population that can feel underserved and undersupported. And that's why I'm throwing my hat into the ring in the form of coaching and helping moms navigate all the complexities with a little less stress and a little bit more ease.
Thank you so much. Wow, 30 years experience. That's quite impressive. And I just thank you so much.
Well, I love it. And I absolutely love it. I call my hospital my second home. I said it's very nice. It has lots of bedrooms. And it really is, it really is someplace where I find so much happiness even on the hardest days.
And Molly, you're in the Austin area, correct?
I am. I work
Okay.
at Dell Children's Hospital.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So, what are some often shared hacks or tips, tricks, or advice that you like to give medical moms?
Well, this one in particular is for the admitted medical moms,
Okay.
the parents that are there at the hospital every day, and they feel the grind of it all, where you have to be there, you feel like you can't leave, things like that. And for those moms, I give them a really simple analogy, and that is to treat yourself like a plant. And so that means every day they need to go outside, get some fresh air, some sunlight on their face. They need to have nutrients in the form of healthy food, and they need to have plenty of water. And if you think of yourself in those terms and you do the things every day that you would do for any other plant you cared for, you will survive much better in a difficult situation.
And Molly, I'm sure you hear this. What if, you know, I feel, let's say I'm in that position, I can't leave my child ever. I can't go out and get some sunshine and sit
you,
outside with a cup of
you would not be
coffee.
alone. You would not be alone.
Right.
um, so, on those cases, I say let's start small.
Yeah.
um, and take a walk out into the hallway. But when they do finally leave the hospital, even if it's just to the garden, I say, how does it feel? How did it feel for you to be outside, to feel the sun? And they're like, oh, it was lovely. And I said, and so when you feel like that and you come back in, your neurologic system is just a little bit more refreshed. You're a little bit more balanced. And so if I can kind of build on that, and then build in the pieces around that mom in particular needs to feel safe to walk outside or to go grab a cup of coffee or to, I mean, if we're dreaming big to go home and sleep in your own bed, she's got to have the pieces in place that make her feel safe. And so we work on that. Who can stay with your child? Who are the nurses that you feel most comfortable with, that you do feel safe enough to leave? And so we kind of slowly but surely put in those pieces so that they do feel safe, so that they can get the rest that they need. But having been there myself, I was probably one of those moms. And I did realize that when I finally went home to take a shower, I felt so much better. And I
Mm-hmm.
came back as a new woman.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be done. It just needs a little convincing.
Yes, yes, yes. And I, I, I mean, I think all of us in, extreme motherhood, exponential motherhood, altered motherhood, all the ways I love to describe our journeys, we live with such a
Mhm.
vigilance.
Yes.
And I can imagine that when you have a child or a teenager or adult that is
Mhm.
medically fragile, you're just in this heightened fight or flight probably. How how can we soothe ourselves? What do you teach? Because it's not good for us obviously long term to live that way, right?
Right.
It takes a toll on us physically, mentally, emotionally. What what tool or tools do you offer?
That's a great question because it is so true. And what I usually start with is breaking it down. What is the root emotion? And nine times out of 10, if you start kind of digging into it, it ends up being fear. I'm scared that something will happen because I'm not there. I'm scared that this might happen, that might happen. And it's that need for control that keeps you in that fight or flight response. And so we do a lot of exercises around we can't control everything. And so, what are the pieces we can put in place to make us feel safe? How can we name these emotions that crop up as fear? And then once you name it, it kind of gives it a different level of power. So, once you're like, hey, this is just fear showing up, I'm scared because. And so, if you can say, I'm scared because if I leave, something bad might happen. So, all right, but I would feel safe if my husband was there because I know he would call me. Okay, so I'm going to put that piece in place. And the other thing that I do is I have moms go through all the what ifs. Tell me all your what ifs. Well, what if
Mm.
this happens? What if that happens? Well, what if this happens because of that? And so I have them go through all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
then I ask a really simple question. What if it doesn't happen? What if none of that happens and everything goes the way that you're hoping that it'll go? And that little light bulb moment allows them to be like, okay, you're right. This isn't a guarantee that everything's going to go wrong. There's a lot of guarantee that things will go right. And
Mm-hmm.
our we cannot control the either what ifs. But
Right.
having that perspective
Mm-hmm.
really helps you frame it differently and approach it differently. And that's my whole goal is if you can approach it differently, you can really transform your experience with the medical
Mm-hmm.
system, being a medical mom, and how you show up day after day, even when it's hard.
And so what if you hear from I can't do that. I can't let my guard down. I can't ask that question. Like all the like what do you do with the resistance? Because sometimes you're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, Molly, thank you. Yes, I've been waiting for something to apply." And then some of the time, I can imagine that you get resistance. Like this doesn't apply to me in my journey in what I'm going through and what I carry. And where do you think that comes from and what do you say or how do you help that mom that's resisting even though you know she desperately needs a way to soothe her nervous system in the midst of all of this?
It's so true. And you would be surprised. I mean, that doesn't work like a charm every time. It really
Really? I'm
doesn't.
shocked.
You know, it's like, okay, well, so I just kind of go smaller. And so I get down as little as I can. Can we change this little thing? And it often is, that's the grain of sand I need to start building on. Like, okay, so we agree that you can go for a walk. And then she goes for the walk. And then we talk about how did that feel? What was it like? What was the experience? And then I just look for opportunities to build on that. Okay, we did a walk. That is amazing. How would it feel to go to the coffee shop?
Mm.
And so I get the resistance and I get the digging in because I will tell you from my own personal experience, fear is the most powerful emotion that there is, in my opinion.
Mm.
Equally as powerful as love. But when you're talking about being in a hospital or a medical system, fear fear wins out, but it's rooted because you love your child so, so
Mm.
much.
Like how you said that.
And so we can handle the fear. The love's not going to change, but we can actually change the fear. And so that's
Mm.
what I try to focus on. And I don't, we build on the love. We're like,
Yeah.
you love your child so much. Don't you want to show up as the best? How do you think you'd show up differently? I had this
Mhm.
one mom who was just really, she was in the grind. I call it the grind when you're like,
Oh, I like that.
I'm going to do this and I am not going to give up and I can do whatever it takes for my child. And I just said to her, like, what if I told you your child was going to be in the hospital for another month? I said, would you approach your life differently? Would it look different? And she's like, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, let's start approaching it as if your child's going to be in the hospital for another month, because then when we beat that goal, it feels really good. And
Mhm.
so there's a little bit of mindset, not, I guess it's a good word, hack, to say, okay, if I've got to go for a month, but she can get me out in 2 weeks, all of a sudden it seems like a big win.
Mhm.
But when
Mhm.
you're expecting to go out in 2 days and it's 2 weeks later,
Mhm.
that's really difficult. It
Mhm.
feels like it's really dragging on. And so that mindset shift totally transformed her hospital stay.
Mm.
So it really was, she just says, I feel so much better. I went home, I saw my girls, I took a
Yeah.
shower.
Mm.
She's like, I feel better. And
Mm.
so it just didn't feel as heavy.
Mhm.
When you're carrying that load, it can be exhausting.
Right.
And on top of it, you're not sleeping in a hospital and you're not eating normally in a hospital, and you're definitely not drinking enough water in a hospital, and
Oh my
certainly
gosh,
not going
totally.
all the things.
Right.
So that's what I try to focus on. Even if you give me a grain of salt, I can work with it.
We are so excited to thank PCSI.org for sponsoring in full the San Diego retreat this month. PCSI is a nationwide mission-driven nonprofit that creates meaningful employment opportunities for people with disabilities and veterans while delivering exceptional services to both the public and private sectors. Through their workforce development programs, including vocational rehabilitation services, community employment, and careers at PCSI, they empower individuals to achieve independence, personal growth, and long-term success. By combining sustainable business innovation with a values-based approach, they strengthen communities, challenge the status quo, and deliver outstanding results in every partnership. PCSI enhances the lives of people with disabilities through employment, advocacy, partnerships, and innovation. We are brave together. Thanks you. Do you have a personal little story about something that you learned, you applied, that helped you change your mindset, that you saw had such powerful repercussions that it was like, okay, I've got to teach this to others? What's a story from your own experience as a medical mom where you made a shift from here to there?
Well, it's a perfect question because everything that I just talked about, I learned myself personally.
Mm-hmm.
So when my daughter Allie was 3, she developed debilitating headaches.
Mm.
Like, so scary. As a nurse practitioner, I was freaking out because
Yeah.
I was like, these are bad symptoms, and I know they're bad. And so I had to go to my doctor, our pediatrician, and they're like, it's allergies. I'm like, it's not allergies. So I got stuck in that story that so many moms know. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not allergies. I know it's not allergies. And so we had to go through the workup. And I remember taking her to the hospital to get an x-ray of her sinuses because he was still convinced it was allergies. And I was like, crystal clear. I can read the x-ray. I was like, it's not allergies. So
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, he it was very well received. He said, I need to get you in to see a neurologist. We ended up going through the neurologist. Neurologist couldn't explain the headache, so we needed to get an MRI. And Allie was diagnosed what's called a Chiari malformation with syrinx.
Mm-hmm.
And so at 3 years old, that was a pretty shocking diagnosis. And so I knew in an instant that she was going to need surgery. She was going to be in an ICU where I worked, and
Mm-hmm.
that I knew that things would be okay, but it just didn't matter. I knew that I was blessed to know the best neurosurgeon I could possibly dream of having for my daughter. And so in the time between diagnosis and surgery, I just found myself, um, my husband would probably agree with this statement, just being kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I was controlling, I was irritable, I was no fun to be around, I was barky, the whole 9 yards. And then I was sitting on the couch one night and I just started crying, bawling. And I looked at him and I said, I'm just scared. Like, it
Mm.
had never dawned on me that all of this behavior that was not typical of myself was just fear.
Yeah.
A- And in that instant, I saw every mom I took care of,
Mm-hmm.
every mom in I don't know how many years at that point, but it was at least 20, that I had taken care of. And I was like, all of these things that they exhibit isn't because they're angry. I mean, yes, maybe a little, but it's really, if you whittle it down, it's all because they're scared.
Mm-hmm.
And it transformed the way I took care of patients in an instant.
Mm.
And it allowed me to kind of do a little self-evaluation, which is something I talk about in my program, which is the things you can control are where you take your child, the doctors or surgeons that you select to be what you perceive to be the best, for caring for your child. And in my case, I got to choose an anesthesiologist. And then after that, it was in God's hands. And I
Yeah.
just had to trust that I did everything I could to the best of my ability to put her in the best hands possible to get the
Mm-hmm.
best result. And I was
Mm.
very blessed that we eventually ended up with that result.
Thank you for that. Thank you. What do you think, what do you wish the world at large or family and friends understood about being a medical mom?
It's a great question. I think the thing that I would love for people to know is that it is the hardest job out there. It can feel very isolating, and it can feel like no one no one relates to my story. And I was, when Allie was diagnosed, I remember going out and looking for, I just wanted one great story, one great story.
Mhm.
And I really struggled to find it.
Mhm.
And so this is kind of also a word of caution because I went looking on Google and all the typical places that you look at. Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. And I couldn't find it. And
Mhm.
then when I was done, did I go and put my one great story up there so that other moms would feel comforted? I didn't. And I
Mhm.
still kind of kick myself for that. And there's still an
Mhm.
opportunity. But,
Mhm. Mhm.
you have to find your community kind of in unexpected places.
Mhm.
You want to find a community of moms because they're the ones that get it. It's not something you're going to find necessarily in the general public.
Uh-huh.
But once you're part of that club, oh, it's fierce. It's fiercely supportive and it's really quite beautiful. And they
Mhm.
just see the world in a different light. And if
Mhm.
you have the right lens, you can take all of the toughness and the grind and the journey and really turn it into something beautiful by giving back to other moms,
I
which
mean,
is what you're doing.
yeah, I would say that's what we're doing. We have, we're an all-inclusive community, so we have every diagnosis under the sun. And yes, I say girlfriends who get you are sacred and mandatory. We have to have people in our life who understand our circumstances, whatever that is, if it's loss, we've been through a traumatic accident,
Yes.
whatever it is, altered motherhood, parenting, we have to have other people who understand what we're going through because, you know, our friends and family who don't have a child with any struggles or diagnoses, they don't, and yes, they can be loving and supportive and great. I have people in my life who have stuck with me all these years, and they don't have children who have struggles like Ryan or Ellie, um, and they're wonderful. And we have to have some people who have similar circumstances, who understand the grief and the worry and the fear and the planning and the schedule and the appointments and just all of it.
Exactly. And that's what's so beautiful about your local communities is then you not only do you find somebody who understands, but it's somebody who's in your neighborhood potentially,
Mhm,
where you can
mhm.
get together and kids can meet. And then it becomes this beautiful thing of
Right,
expanding that love and support well beyond the links of Zooms and whatnot.
right, right. Something that we say, our philosophy and We Are Brave Together is let us share and not compare. So wherever you are in the caretaking spectrum, whether you feel like your story and caregiving is light, all the way to, very, very, very intense, we validate all of it. Every mother counts, every story counts, every diagnosis counts. But I'm just wondering, does that make moms who are in medically fragile situations, medically intense situations, feel like we're minimizing their experiences? Um, I want to be sensitive to that, but I also say everyone's hard is their hard.
Hmm.
So let's not have this turn into the hardship Olympics, but let's just validate each other's experiences, and everyone's hard. I know what it's like. I know, especially in the beginning of my journey, I wanted to say, my motherhood is harder than your motherhood, to my friends who had typical kids. And that just came out of a place of grief, right? And
Hmm.
so I can imagine that moms who have medically fragile kids who are, hospital repeaters, if you will, surgery repeater, all of that, um, might feel like, well, actually, this is really, really intense, and only other medical moms really, really get it. So I don't know if I like that philosophy, Jessica. I'm just, asking the hard questions.
No, that is a good point because it is really hard when your child's in the hospital fighting for their life and you're alongside them and your friend is complaining about being your child being a picky eater, there's just no relation there.
Right.
It's just so what I do in those situations is like we can we can accept friends for where they're at. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But you're not going to get that level of support from that friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's just a disconnect. That's why you really need to find another community, and that can be your friend that you play bunco with. But the people who really get it are going to support you on a different level. And both friendships are valuable, and you want to keep that friendship alive, even if you have to say, hey, look, we're going through a really tough time. Can I circle back with you when we're out of the hospital? It doesn't break the friendship. It doesn't hurt any feelings. They'd be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Let me know when you're back and you're ready.
Yeah.
And it's good to have that level of normalcy, and it's good to respect what you've been through. And so how you marry the two of those together is really important, where you can just kind of move forward as the new version of you. And you know, eventually you'll have an opportunity to share some wisdom with them as well. Because we all encounter, sorry, the healthcare system at some point.
Yes, we do.
And I
Every one of us.
guarantee that friend you'll be the first one that they call.
True. True. How can we better support medical moms?
That is a very good question. My answer is pretty generic on this,
Okay.
but just listen.
Mm.
Sometimes they just want to talk. Sometimes they just want to vent. And that exercise for medical moms is powerful, just to get it off their chest, off their mind. And if there's a friend that can sit there and be with them and be present and not feel the need to give advice and not
Mm-hmm.
feel the need to tell them anything, just to be like, I'm here for you and I will listen as long as you need me to listen to. You're venting. I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. Because I really think that they carry so much and they don't have opportunities where it feels safe to unload a lot of that baggage. So it's really easy.
That's so good. We all want to be listened to. We all just want somebody to say, I'm here and not say anything. I
Right.
won't say
And then
anything.
I don't want to say anything wrong. You can say that. Like,
Yes.
I don't know what to say in this situation, but I want you to know I've got your back
Yeah.
and I am
Mhm.
here to listen. That's Parents love that. Moms love that. You'd be
Yeah.
like, oh
All
my
humans
gosh.
love that, right,
Yeah,
Molly?
exactly.
Every human being wants to be heard, wants somebody to listen.
It's so true. And it's such a powerful form of connection.
It is. It is. Yeah, I heard somewhere on a podcast, like, I don't know, something like best, best relationship advice ever is to be the best listener. And yes, I could improve.
Well, and that's part of the joy for me of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
of using my skills in a new way. Because when I was in nurse practitioner school, I was taught if you listen long enough, they will tell you what's wrong with their child. And just listen and ask questions and be curious. And I do the same with coaching. And if you just listen long enough, they give you the answer, you
Mm-hmm.
know, of what they really need. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Why do you think that is? And it's really remarkable if you just let people talk and you really listen.
Thank you for that. That's so true. That's so true. Well, Molly, is there anything that you haven't shared that you're like, ooh, I want to get this nugget out there before we go?
Well, I guess what I would say is that I'm in a new area of coaching. There's not many people out there coaching medical moms. And so I've likened it to, if people are like, what is she talking about? What is a coach for a medical mom? It's just basically I take my combined experience as a nurse practitioner as well as a medical mom and marry it to help you navigate the medical system with at least some ease. Not 100%, but it allows you to kind of show up as a better version of yourself the way you want to show up, with a couple little exercises and a lot of talking. I've seen complete transformations in moms, and it's been remarkable. remarkable.
Oh, thank you so much, Molly. Thank you so much.
Well, I absolutely love it. And it brings me joy every day. It brings me joy to talk to somebody like you, to learn more, and to really help moms is what I love to do most.
I can concur with that.
Right?
Thanks. Well, Molly, where can everybody find you?
Well, I have a website. It's mollytrexler.com, and I'm also on social media, Instagram, YouTube, and it's all Molly Trexler Coaching.
Okay.
And you can email me directly if you have a specific question. I'm molly@mollytrexler.com.
Wonderful. And we'll have all the links, in the show notes as well. This has
Wonderful.
been so great. This has been so, so great. I have some ideas, so we'll have to talk offline. But thank you so much for coming today, Molly.
Jessica, thank you so much for having me. I feel blessed that we have connected.
Me too. Me too. Thanks so much for listening today. Do us a favor and leave us a review and a rating so that this podcast can get into the ears and the hearts of more and more moms. Did you know that Brave Together podcast is an extension of our nonprofit organization, We Are Brave Together? We Are Brave Together serves an international community of caregiving moms, offering support groups that are virtual and in-person, educational resources, and low-cost weekend retreats. And we have published our first anthology of caregiving stories entitled Becoming Brave Together, Heroic, Extraordinary Caregiving Stories from Mothers Hidden in Plain Sight. It will encourage and validate every parent caregiver. To join us today, go to wearebravetogether.org. Our support and sisterhood awaits you. Brave Together podcast is for entertainment and education purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional care and should not be relied on for medical or mental health advice. The use of any content on our podcast, links, show notes, or on our website is to be done at your own personal risk. Please seek out a professional to assess your own medical or mental health concerns because we are all beautifully complex and the content of this podcast is for a broad audience.